Ex-Bethelite here. 937-789-4029. Uh, the identifying mark is love. And there's no way you can get around that. You can't look at the Bible scripture and then try to twist it to your reasoning or logic or something to that effect. It just says the identifying mark is love. Now, keeping that in mind, I yesterday just wondered about how other people are treated in other religions, not Jehovah's Witnesses, other religions, when shunning takes place. And it's not just a Jehovah's Witness thing. It's done by other religious groups also. So I get on YouTube. First, I go online and look up some information. Then I go on YouTube because I want to hear a personal experience of some others that have gone through it, and really you kind of gauge how that person was treated, if they were treated in a Christian manner, if it was the last resort, or if it was just a way of sweeping them under the rug. We just don't want to deal with it. Get on YouTube, and keep in mind, YouTube is used by millions of people. I can't even find a video that's not about Jehovah's Witnesses getting shunned. The first few videos were all about Jehovah's Witnesses. I scroll down, and there's a video that actually doesn't have the denomination there. It just talks about being disfellowshipped or shunned. And I click on it, and 2 minutes in, the person goes in about Jehovah's Witnesses and how they were treated. And I'm like, great Scott, you know what I mean? That should tell you something. Where the dominant result of a specific religious group is shunning. It's the opposite of love. And you can look at the videos. A lot of people won't. But you can look at the videos and get the facts. And you don't hear a lot of people talking about how, oh man, they were just treated in such a loving manner, and this was just such the last resort. Oftentimes you have people where this is just total there were misunderstandings. There's all kinds of things. These things can't occur if this is done as a last resort. There would have been a lot of meetings. There would have been a lot of encouraging. There would have been a lot of let's try this and let's try that. You don't go directly to shunning. And when you look at the overall culture that results from a group of people just being accustomed to turning their back on people, they're just used to turning their back on people. I know from childhood on up, I'm just accustomed to seeing, an announcement made in front of everybody that such and such a person is disfellowshipped or what have you. And then immediately after, even kids know the drill. After that meeting is over with, everybody just turns their back. You'll have people walk up, and they may or may not do it intentionally, but you'll have people walk up to where that person's row is and reach out and start shaking hands and talking to people all around them, and then just avoid them. I mean, just so easily. You don't have people crying and people just upset and distraught because of what happened to a member of their congregation. They're not distraught at all. You don't even see an expression on their face. It's just what we do. We just turn our backs on people, but just as easily as you could imagine. It may be difficult for the family. Obviously, I'm sure it's difficult for the family, and I'm sure there's families where this may not be difficult because love is just not really one of the primary things that you're going to see. Now, let me preference that with love bombing. What that concept entails is how a person is treated when they're not a member. People don't know if they're a member or not, and people want them to join. So there's a big difference with those two situations. When you have a situation like that where it's that bad where you can look on YouTube about a particular topic, and there's all these religions in the world, and one religion dominates with regards to the strongest form of isolation there is, shunning, involving even a person's family, sometimes not speaking to them, or being just treated like you're dead, in essence. When that becomes the norm, what you have is people who are misguided but believe that the first thing you do, the first resort, is just to turn your back on people. That's not a loving environment. I can prove that because when I got back from Bethel and eventually ended up working a job at Interstate, where, the idea was that I was going to be, let me preference that when I got back from Dayton, when I got back to Ohio from Bethel, I was working a job where there were 12-hour shifts, and my 40 hours was to be up before the week even ended. It shouldn't have been an issue with meetings. It shouldn't have been an issue with service or anything like that. However, the contract that we were working, we lost that contract and ended up having to work a different one, which was 7 days a week, and sometimes, or many times, 12-hour shifts. I've got a lot of experience with jobs like that. And obviously this impacts meetings and field service. I walked down an aisle in a store, Walmart to be specific, and I see somebody that I used to pioneer with. And I mean, we're in a car together for who knows how long, as far as the course of a few years. And if the identifying mark was love, then when you see that person and they see you, it's, oh my goodness, how have you been? I haven't seen you. What's new? What's been going on? Is there anything we can do to help? Oh my goodness, the first result is they see you, they realize they haven't seen you in a while, and they turn to go in a different aisle. Let's make sure we're clear here. Look up shunning on YouTube. This is just math. This is 1 and 1 make 2. This is not Marcus's opinion. This is just pure math. Look up shunning on YouTube. The group that dominates and turning their backs on others is Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not even a question with regards to that. My personal experience is just a playback of what happened. It's not my viewpoint on it. It's a playback on what happened. Was after having my work schedule drastically change, missing some meetings as a result of that, and walking across somebody who was not just a friend. This is someone you talk to every day over the course of years. if that's not a situation where there could have been an embrace there, that there could have been, this isn't just somebody from the hall that barely knows you. This is somebody that knows you very well. And the immediate response, just like that, is turn their back. Look dead at me. We made eye contact. And I immediately get excited, like, wow, I haven't seen you in so long. And they stop, turn around, and go the other way. And somehow managed to avoid me, because I wasn't going to stop my shopping and rearrange everything to try to avoid the aisles that they were in. At that point, I was somewhat shocked. And every time I would go down that aisle where that person was, they would do that. And this is the normal thing. I recall going to a movie. I think it was a holiday, and I actually had a day off of work. It wasn't a meeting night that I could have gone to a meeting, but it was a day that I had off of work. Keep in mind, I didn't pick that job because of the work schedule. The work schedule changed. And the question of, the question of just at that point leaving that job, keep in mind how dangerous that is when you're talking about people who are just accustomed to turning their backs on folks. When you're dealing with a group of people that would drop you like a bad habit, not having a job is a dangerous thing. So, at the time, I held on to that job. I remember getting a day off, and I went to go and see a movie. And there was a pretty big group of witnesses. I believe they were from the hall that I had attended prior to going to Bethel. Again, people who know you. And imagine the instantaneous. You're talking 6, 7 people simultaneously, instantaneously. No one had to tell everybody, no one had to tell the rest of the group, hey, don't talk to that guy. We hadn't seen him in a while. They just instantly, they all clicked at the same time and just will all 7 walk right by and turn their heads so as not to make eye contact, or to make sure you wouldn't go and speak to them. I saw them at the theater. And of course, I'm looking like, wow, you know what I mean? You got some people that have grown up. I hadn't seen them in a while. The loving thing, obviously, we hadn't seen you in a while. It doesn't mean that you've been out murdering people or anything. We just hadn't seen you in a while. What's been going on? Oh, man, my work schedule changed on me. And I'm trying to find another job, but I'm never not at work because I'm constantly at work. And that makes it difficult. Have you guys seen anything, heard anything? You know what I mean? As far as finding a job, heck, that probably would have been solved a whole lot quicker if it wasn't for everybody turning their back on me whenever they saw me. Wasn't disfellowship, hadn't really done anything, just working. And because that is the first result, or first resort, it just it's instantaneous. If it's not the first resort, if these are really, just a group of really loving people, how did that happen? You explain this to me. It's not one person, it's a lot of people. How did that happen? That same night it happened again because I went to, I believe, Frickers. Frickers is a restaurant where you have chicken wings for the most part. They got other things on the menu. But I went to a restaurant, Frickers, with an old friend. I wasn't being judged because this particular person, I don't know that they had been to the meeting themselves at this particular point in time. But that wasn't the reason why I contacted them. I contacted them because it was an old friend, and I was wondering how they were doing. So we met up at Frickers after I left the theater, and you would not believe those same people were at Frickers. And there is an instant uncomfortable vibe there, where they're obviously going out their way to try not to speak to you, and you're not even disfellowship. You're not officially shunned. You didn't do anything. They just hadn't seen you in a while. We hadn't seen you in a while, so the first thing we do is just shun you. It's not loving. I mean, that's not even a question of whether it's loving or not. And we've discussed a situation with regards to my sister and her being assaulted, and there I'm sure was a plenty of opportunities for there to be a loving response, there to be people surrounding her with love and support and concern. However, from my memory of the situation, I wasn't even alerted about what had happened to her until she's pretty much being disfellowshipped. And having gone through a sexual assault, being raped, and shortly thereafter, I believe I spoke to her, and she said maybe a month after the assault, she's in a relationship with someone. That's not enough time to heal. I mean, that isn't even close to enough time to heal from what had happened to her. And if there was no one there supporting her, maybe, it hadn't come out yet as far as what had happened. However, there wasn't any support there. I don't see how you go to the far extreme of, okay, this person now has to be disfellowship, and that's somewhat the first resort. I'm just recalling all of this. You have another situation where, and these are just experiences. It's in my opinion. These are experiences. You have another situation where there was a sister and a brother. They were dating. They've been dating for quite some time, and they're going to get married. I mean, come on now. They were looking at houses. They're driving around looking at houses. I mean, they're planning on getting married. Somehow, they became sexually active. I don't know to what extent, but they became sexually active prior to that wedding date. They hung out together a lot. They're around each other a lot. I don't think everybody was super apprehensive about them being around each other because they're about to get married like really, really soon here. So they end up being disfellowshipped right before their wedding. Do you realize the difficulties that causes? So you now have all these people invited to your wedding. You have this huge wedding plan. I don't recall of whether they were able to have it in the Kingdom Hall or not. I don't recall that. I know they went ahead and had the wedding, but now you have all these people who will probably not attend your wedding because you had to get this. This fellowshipping was the only option here. You had to get this fellowship right before, like a week before you get married. It seems to me that there could have been a little bit of a more loving response than disfellowshipping. And I think sometimes, now this is, those were fat out the facts, that's what happened. But now this becomes my analysis of it. You have people who are misguided and they believe that disfellowshipping people makes them look good. You see this person here and this person there, they're all disfellowship, which means that this organization holds to a high standard. It's not what it means, but I think that is what how people view it. You got all these people disfellowship. Whenever we hear about something, we disfellowship them. So that means we hold to a high standard. And of course, with Jehovah's Witnesses, sometimes it all boils down to them trying to be better than other churches. Other churches did this. Look at what we did. We shunned them. So that makes us better, right? So sometimes, the quick response is just disfellowshipping, some kind of public humiliation or public reproof or something to that effect. Is what's done. There's 1,000 things that could be done before that, but that's the first thing sometimes that's done. Or there's meetings, judicial hearings, where it's a judicial hearing. It's not a let's sit down, let's talk, let's see what we can do to help, and then if we have to, then we're going to have to go this route. No, this the first hearing is a judicial hearing. You know what I mean? It does not mean that the organization holds to a high standard. It just means that these people are the martyrs that we're using to make ourselves look better. Why do I say that? Again, I base my analysis off fact. I was at Bethel. You guys know the story. You know what happened. I'm at Bethel. Quit my job in order to dedicate my entire life to serve God. And I end up with all my belongings in boxes, packed up, piled up in my car, and was told that we were going to have some meetings, we're going to talk, we're going to figure out where I was going to go from there and all of that. None of that happened. You have a brother coming from the moving department that just pops up at my room with a bunch of people from the that worked in the moving department. And okay, right here, right now, we're doing this right now. Like your stuff, we're putting them in boxes. Where's your car? We're putting it in your car, stacking them up. You can't even see. We don't care. Drop your dwelling manual off. Drop your keys off. See ya. So I'm in my car on my phone trying to figure out where am I gonna go? Where am I gonna stay? Don't have money. I don't. You know what I mean? It's not like I just go to a hotel or something. Bethel didn't know where my family was. They didn't know if my family was in Bermuda. They didn't care. I was in my car, and see ya. Didn't have money. They knew that was most likely the case because they weren't paying me. They knew that I had gotten a couple pieces of fruit and a juice to drink, to have something while I was in the car. They knew I didn't go just take it. They knew because I used my ID and typed it into the computer that's what I took with me. And they sent me a bill for that. So it's not about, the organization does not live up to the same standards that it puts on the members who they quickly disfellowship. It's not loving. It is not loving. It's far from loving. It is the opposite of loving. And Disfellowshipping should be the last resort. You give me what you think. 937-789-4029. Shoot me a text, give me a call. Let me know what your experience is. This is ex Walk Hill Bethelite signing out. Again, check it out yourself. Look on YouTube. Look up Shunning. All JWs. Kicked out. Hadn't spoken to their own relatives in who knows how long. People in their family who were kids last they spoke to them grow up. And they see them and they can't speak to them. And some of the stories are heart-wrenching. These aren't stories of people who were unrepentant. A lot of these stories it's like just like my sister are people who were disfellowshipped and just left in that state for whatever reason. They just left them there. They and their family will just continue to shun them. That's just not loving, because you're talking about families that don't even look into it. They've forgotten their own family members. They're not even looking into, well, why is this person still disfellowshipped when they're not doing any of the things that they were doing before, or they're not doing anything wrong anymore. Don't even look into it. Ex Walk Hill Bethelite signing out.